like to call the meeting of the Monroe County Plan Commission to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes, David Bush.
Here.
Margaret Clements.
Here.
Tron Enright Randolph. Scott Ferris.
Here.
Rudy Fields.
Here.
David Henry.
Here.
Jeff Morris.
Here.
Julie Thomas.
Here.
Joe Van Deventer.
Here.
Okay, so we have 8 members in person and a quorum.
And would you kindly introduce the evidence?
Sure. I'd like to introduce the following items into the evidence. The Monroe County.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Enright Randolph has arrived.
Okay, so we have 9 members attending. I'd like to introduce the following items into the evidence. The Monroe County Development Ordinance as adopted and amended. The Monroe County Zoning Ordinance and Subdivision Control Ordinance as adopted and amended. The Monroe County Comprehensive Plan as adopted and amended. The Monroe County Plan Commission Rules of Procedure as adopted and amended. The cases that were legally advertised and scheduled for a hearing on tonight's agenda.
Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the introduction of evidence. A vote yes is a vote to approve the introduction of evidence. Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Tron Enright Randolph.
Yes.
Scott Ferris.
Yes.
Rudy Fields.
Yes.
David Henry.
Here. Yes, thanks.
Jeff Morris.
Yes.
Julie Thomas.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
David Bush.
Yes.
Motion is approved 9-0.
And I'd like to move approval of the agenda with one correction, and that is under unfinished business, number 1, ZOA-25-3, that this is a continuation of the October 23rd meeting, and that this is still the preliminary hearing, and I'd like to request waiver of final hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any other changes to the agenda? Or is the rest as approved? Okay, so this is a motion and a second to make only one change to the otherwise published agenda, which is under unfinished business, item number 1, ZOA-25-3, strike final hearing and instead put in preliminary hearing and waiver of final hearing requested. A vote yes is a vote to approve. Tron Enright Randolph.
Yes.
Scott Ferris.
Yes.
Rudy Fields.
Yes.
David Henry.
Yes.
Jeff Morris.
Yes.
Julie Thomas.
Yes.
Joe Van Deventer.
Yes.
David Bush.
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Motion is approved 9-0.
Okay, and we have 2 sets of minutes for approval. We could either have a motion to approve those together or separately.
Let's do it together.
Okay.
I move approval of the October 23rd and November 20th, 2025 minutes.
Second. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to collectively approve October 23rd and November 2025 meeting minutes. A vote yes is a vote to approve both sets of minutes. Scott Ferris.
Yes.
Rudy Fields.
Yes.
David Henry.
Yes.
Jeff Morris.
Yes.
Julie Thomas.
Yes.
Joe Van Deventer.
Yes.
David Bush.
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Tron Enright Randolph.
Yes.
Motion is approved 9-0.
Okay, we have 2 items under administrative business, and Ms. Sturgellin, if you would go over those with us.
Sure, I'll take item number 1 first, the CDO amendment prioritization list. There's no changes to this list as of now. Well, I'll take that back. There's one change. We did get a text amendment through the county commissioners on December 11th. So there was one amendment made to the CDO, and that was largely due to staff edits, but also some House bill changes. So that could be classified under the staff edits section of the prioritization list, which is ongoing. But one of the items on the agenda tonight under unfinished business, if approved, could also update that prioritization list.
Okay.
Or if moved on to the commissioners and approved by the commissioners.
Okay.
There's no other updates on that.
On the calendar, is there anything?
Yeah. Tammy's gonna go ahead and present this one.
Okay.
Right, so we had the county council give our, the budget hearing, schedule was published, so now we know where we needed to move things. We've got a BZA meeting happening a week early in August. We have, a couple of the PC admin meetings, which are normally on Tuesdays. I think we're pushing those to Thursdays because of voting, the primary and the regular. And then we have two meetings that are altered. I think September 28th or 23rd is a Wednesday, and October 22nd will be a Thursday. So those are the main changes we're seeing.
Okay, it's nice to have this advance notice. Well, let's move on to the first item on the unfinished business agenda, and that's item number 1, ZOA-25-3. And this is a continuation of a preliminary hearing from October 23rd, and with a waiver of final hearing requested concerning item number 1 from the County Development Ordinance Prioritization List. So,
Margaret, before we move on, just really quickly, I'm really sorry. We do need a vote on the meeting calendar,
oh, okay,
if
okay.
we could.
Is there a motion to approve the meeting calendar?
Motion to approve the calendar as stated. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2026 meeting calendar with the amendments as presented in the packet. A vote yes is a vote to approve the meeting calendar. Rudy Fields,
Yes.
David Henry,
Yes.
Jeff Morris,
Yes.
Julie Thomas,
Yes.
Joe Van Deventer,
Yes.
David Bush,
Yes.
Margaret Clements,
Yes.
Tron Enright Randolph,
Yes.
Scott Ferris.
Yes.
Okay, that is approved 9-0.
Okay, thank you for that reminder and for that catch. Okay, so we're moving on then to unfinished business, and this concerns item number 1, ZOA-25-3. This is a continuation of the October 23rd, 2025 preliminary hearing, and a waiver of final hearing could be requested. And this concerns item number 1 from the County Development Ordinance Prioritization List.
Madam Chair, before staff continues, this is a topic that we've discussed several times in previous meetings, and I think we've all had an opportunity to weigh in. And technically, public comment was closed in a prior meeting, so we would not take up public comment tonight. So I would like to move to call the question to move this straight to a vote.
Second.
I'm sorry.
It's been
Do
moved
we
and-
not get a statement? That doesn't seem like procedure.
There's been a motion and a second. Mr. Roddy, if you're here, if you could weigh in on this.
Yeah,
So-
Just trying to cut off discussion about this.
Per the rules of procedure, if there is a motion and a second and the vote is began to be
yeah,
called.
I'm asking
then-
about rules of procedure as far as prior to that with appropriate discussion. I understand that there was a motion and a second, but I'm more curious about our ability to discuss this, and also moved as a continuation seems to be quite of a stretch. And correct me if I'm wrong, because our attorney's online, but I want him to be clear that we actually moved this to the ORC to be discussed. So this seems like
I'm
a new
sorry.
item
You're out
in
of
new
order,
business.
Mr.
I'm
Enright
asking for
Randolph.
point of order and
You are-
clarity to the attorney that is
Okay.
not out of order.
Mr. Roddy has come in so he can address your question.
And let's be clear of the record that this was motioned to the ORC to discuss and then went to the admin and then here.
Mr. Roddy, could you please clarify our rules of procedure?
Yes, it's my understanding that based on what's occurred, which is that it was sent to the ORC made minor changes, that the motion can be called by the chair at this point. The question can be called.
We moved the whole item forward to the ORC to be rediscussed, moved to the Plan Commission, and then moved back here. I don't see how that's a continuation of the same discussion because we moved it for a new discussion at the ORC.
In speaking with Mr. Schilling, he thinks that the motion before the ORC.
I think is very much not what I'm looking for. I want definitive legal guidance.
At this point, what I can say is I believe the question can be called.
So I think that Ms. Nestor Jelen, could you call the roll to see if this motion for the question passes?
Point of order, Madam President.
Mr. Henry?
Under Robert's rules, it's permitted to challenge the decision of the chair and take a vote on this decision.
I have not made a decision.
We're
I'm-
taking a vote, and I'm challenging the decision about this vote.
So
Mr. Roddy,
Can you second?
We
could
don't-
you
I'll
again?
second that motion.
We now have to debate. Mr. Roddy, as I understand parliamentary procedure, we have an opportunity to debate the decision of the chair to decide whether or not we proceed with this vote.
I believe that's correct if it's a point of order.
That's what I did.
I believe that is correct.
Typically, under Robert's rules, a speaker for and against is permitted. Are you able to verify that?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Heard me?
Not off the top of my head, no. But I believe if it's a point of order, it can be subject to debate.
So we have two motions on the table. One is to call the question, and the other is a point of order. Could you direct us which way we should proceed?
I believe the point of order would have to be dealt with first, since it deals with essentially the motion on the floor.
So we have to decide on the point of order if that's accepted?
That would be my
Okay.
position.
Then, Ms. Nestor-Jelen, would you please call the roll on the point of order?
Madam President, typically a challenge to the decision of the chair requires a speaker for and against the motion so we can understand why the motion is being made. I'd happily speak for the motion. If there's someone that wants to speak against it, they can. Okay, so no one wants to speak against the motion, that's fine. I think I just concur with my colleague, Mr. Andre Randolph, to say, while of course we
Hey,
had a robust
point of
discussion.
order, point
Yeah,
of
we
order.
already had, go ahead, yeah.
We have two motions. We've got one that was seconded, we have the point of order, which was seconded. And for some of us who do not have Robert's Rule of Order in our hip pocket, I have a copy at home, but I don't have it in my hip pocket. Okay, is the process, I want to make clear, so I understand the process. Now we have to debate whether we are for or against the point of order, not the substance of the point of order, but whether or not the point of order will continue. Is that correct?
Yes, I think they're fairly interrelated, but yes.
Yes, which means we're not discussing the topic, we're discussing whether the point of order will proceed or not.
Is a valid point of order, correct.
He's challenging the decision of the chair, which was made to call the question. That's the question that we're discussing. I'm challenging that choice as it was seconded. So the discussion is about the motion that was made to call the question. And that's typically procedurally how you would handle a situation where a question is being forced without.
I have a point of
And
order.
challenge.
I made no decision. A motion was made to call the question. It was seconded, and no decision has been made. So I object to that characterization. I have not made a decision to call the question. The question has been moved, it's been seconded, and a vote is pending.
No, I'm sorry, it's
you have
not. There's a
called.
point of order on the table. It is not pending until we resolve the challenge
It's still
of the decision of the
pending.
chair. You
It's
made
still-
a decision.
It's still pending, but
Mr. Roddy, you may want to get a copy of the book here because it's going to be a minute. I mean, but the bottom line is it sounds like the chairwoman has already made an argument against my motion to discuss why we're taking this vote. to begin
I'm
with.
just correcting the record that I did not make a decision about the calling of the question. That was on the table. It was the motion was seconded. No decision was made about that. So if you would like to entertain the question that you've brought up, I don't know if it's possible or permissible that you dictate the conditions of the discussion of the parameters under which your point of order is discussed. But I would like then to entertain Mr. Henry's question. And if there are people who are in favor of his motion and would like to speak about that, would you please raise your hand to be recognized? Mr. Henry?
I was in the middle of explaining.
And could you turn on the timer,
I was-
please? Thank
I
you.
was in the middle of explaining the rationale, but clearly this is a unpracticed part of our procedure. But typically, just for the public's understanding and my peers' understanding, that in procedural parliamentary votes, if a motion has been made on the floor and a person at this body disagrees with it, they can challenge the decision of the chair, who is the presiding officer, to now discuss whether or not we should be taking that vote. So the question before you, and what I'm challenging, is whether or not calling the question in light of Mr. Randolph's comment, in light of procedurally our ability to discuss the motion before us, regardless of the precedent, regardless of the discussions, is we're removing an opportunity in this room, not the administrative meeting, but this room, to discuss the merits of the change to the CDO. So what I'm asking is that we don't immediately go to a vote, but we take a few moments to discuss the vote before us, which clearly some folks want to move through quickly, and I appreciate that. But rather than taking away that time and letting a few people speak their mind about the final vote on this very important decision facing our community, to take that opportunity away just to rush to the question, I feel is an inappropriate use of this body's time. All I'm asking is that we take the time as we would for any other item on the agenda, speak our mind about it, and go to the vote. But since it was clear that from this language up here that we just heard, there's a desire to move very quickly here, that is why I've asked for the point of order to challenge the decision of the presiding officer to move to that vote. You voted and seconded. That is procedurally what we do in parliamentary rules. Maybe we need to dust off the book, but that's all I'm asking. Let's just have the discussion for a few minutes. But we've already wasted a lot of time on this piece, rather than just simply allowing a few folks to voice their final concerns about this ordinance change. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I came into this thinking that we had all had adequate time to discuss our thoughts on this. And this procedure of calling the question is something we've been using at the BZA in the last few meetings on non-controversial topics. So hearing that there are others that would still like to share more thoughts on this, I'm going to withdraw my motion to call the question so that we can focus on discussing the actual ordinance change at hand instead of spending time on procedure.
Do you agree with that, Mr. Paris?
Is it an act of collegiality? Yes.
Do you withdraw your point of order?
I think we actually have to take, well, if it's been withdrawn, I'm happy to withdraw the point of order. I don't believe we'd have to take a vote if the offending motion is off the table. So, thank you.
Okay, with that being said, we still have a preliminary hearing, and a waiver of final hearing has been requested for item on the agenda number 1, ZOA-25-3, and this concerns an amendment to the county development ordinance, and it pertains to the sliding scale subdivision as set forth on our list of priorities. Now, those people who had spoken before on the CDO prioritization list and on this sliding scale subdivision question some of them have already spoken, and they would not be allowed a second 3 minutes to voice their opinion. And at some point, if someone thinks that the questions have become, or the statements have become redundant and that there's no new material being offered, we can close the public comment session. So with that being said, Ms. Nestor-Jelen, would you review this item number 1 with us in terms of what's recently happened?
Sure, and I just want to make sure I hear the point of order correctly and what you are wanting to do. So it's still a preliminary hearing, continuation from October 23rd, waiver of final hearing requested. There's 2 components to that. One is public comment and the other is Plan Commission comment.
Yes.
So do you want to open both of those back up?
We could vote on whether or not we open up public comment. So
If we open public comment, we can just take this as a final hearing and no waiver requested since that was from the prior meeting.
okay, is there a motion to either open up public comment or close it down? Yes, Colonel Ferris.
We have discussed this topic 8 times at the ORC, 3 times at the Plan Commission admin meeting, and we have discussed it at 1 Plan Commission meeting, this being the 2nd. And if I add all that up, including tonight, I think that's 13 times we've talked about this. The public has been involved in those discussions. I would move that the public hearing portion be closed.
Is there a second?
I'm not sure we need to vote if the agenda has been amended to make this still a preliminary hearing with the final waiver requested. I just want to make sure the point of order was not to, I think the point of order was only to allow Plan Commission comments.
I agree.
So we would not call for public comment. That's still closed. And I can still present what's before us if the Plan Commission would like, or you could just move straight to comment and or a
Well, I'll
motion.
go right to the source of the issue. Mr. Henry, what is your preference?
Not a source of this issue. I don't have an opinion about it. I didn't second or I'm one way or another.
Whatever.
For public comment, I don't have an opinion one way or another about public comment.
Hey, thank you.
There's no second to the motion right now, right?
Would anyone like me to present the packet? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. I will go ahead and do that. So.
I got a question. So
Sure.
procedurally, I put a motion on the table. You're saying the motion is not required. Do I need to withdraw the motion?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay, I withdraw the motion then, banking on the fact that we will proceed with comments just from members of the Plan Commission, correct?
That's how the approval of the agenda was, correct?
Thank you.
Yes, okay. So the Plan Commission has asked before they provide some comments and or a motion that I go ahead and re-present the text amendment before you, so I will do that briefly. So this is in your packet under Exhibit 1 is the beginning of the text amendment. The items in red are showing you what is being added or changed based on the text amendment. So one of the discussions was that it would be helpful to illustratively see the difference between the different subdivision types. So we've now added example of a minor subdivision, which is 4 lots or less, each creating 10 acres or larger lots. And this is situations where they're connected to private sewage disposal systems, in other words, a septic system. This is another example of a minor subdivision, 4 lots or less, but they're able to meet the minimum lot size requirements for the zoning district, so they are able to have smaller lots because they're connected to public sewer or public sewage disposal system. And then this is an example of a sliding scale subdivision where you get to have 3 lots that meet the minimum 2.5 acres of the rural zones, and the parent parcel remainder is at least 55% of the total. In this example here, the lots created are exactly 2.5 acres, and then the large parent parcel is the remainder. And then just an example of a major subdivision where they're connected to public sewage disposal systems, sewer, and it's creating more than 5 lots, creation of roadways and utilities and other infrastructure. So the next change that's being proposed is to add 2 items to the purpose statement. The discussion for adding items to the purpose statement is so that when the public comes in, these are more talking points for understanding why the sliding scale option is different than, say, the minor subdivision option, and what the goal of this, what the goal of the text is, especially given the 25-year reservation on the parent parcel. So we've added number 7, which says to allow the flexibility to create smaller residential lots served by private sewage disposal systems, i.e. septics, while also preserving a majority of the original tract for agricultural or conservation purposes. And then number 8, we've added to the existing text, which says permit development in rural areas that will not overburden existing infrastructure and services, and to not adversely impact existing low traffic roadways, police and fire coverage, emergency service response times, and other governmental services. And then if you go down the the section here under number 2, design standards for the parent parcel remainder lot. Notably, under 2B, there is no change to the text which was discussed at length during the CDO hearings, which is that the designated parent parcel remainder shall not further be subdivided for a period of 25 years from the date of recording. But we did make a change to the second paragraph of B, which states that, and in short, as a matter of legislative policy, see ordinance 2015-02, which is the original ordinance at which time the sliding scale option was created. And this is included in tonight's packet as well as one of the exhibits, as well as the minutes from those meetings from the Plan Commission and several examples, past examples that we've had. So encourage people to look back at some of the discussion, the history that we've had regarding this, and also note on the cover sheet for tonight's meeting, it was discussed at the administrative meeting at length, And 2 key takeaways. It sounds like there's interest among some members of the Plan Commission keeping the sliding scale 25-year reservation on the prioritization list for the CDO amendments. We discussed adding an addendum of items to the CDO prioritization list, which will be discussed at the January 6th Plan Commission Administrative Meeting. These include discussions about partial plat vacations and re-subdivisions in the section of the ordinance under Table 1-830, added under the CDO, and the possibility of adding another subdivision type to the CDO. Both items are subject to a majority vote by the Plan Commission. And then number 2, there's still a need to discuss the 25-year reservation of the parent parcel with the public so they're clear on their options once the 25 years has passed and why it is originally in place. Staff will utilize the images added under this text to pictorially explain the differences between the subdivision types and the purpose statement of the subdivision, sliding scale subdivision to explain the 25-year reservation. So with that, I can take any questions.
Okay, I turn to my colleagues on the Plan Commission for further discussion and/or a motion. Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Dr. Clemens. I'll keep it brief because I agree with Colonel Ferris. We have spent a lot of time talking about this. And part of the reason why we spent a lot of time talking about it is because it's still clear as mud how we got 25 years as a standard in our community. So we send it back to RC, we have discussions, we look at meeting minutes from previous bodies, and that's why we keep having this discussion, because we're about to pass something into the CDO that sits on a foundation of sand. My dissent and my no vote rests on evidence and fairness and clarity. And since the meeting minutes of these meetings matter and are referred to in the future, I want to make sure somebody 15 years from now can point to what I'm saying. First, the amendment states that the county legislatively finds that a 25-year restriction is reasonably necessary, but the ordinance it cites does not explain why the 25 years was chosen. There's no study, no data, no generational standard, just a reference back to a prior decision. This creates a circular reason or justification in the CDO. The commission legislatively finds and concludes it because they voted on the CDO, and that becomes the basis of the legislation. To continue a reference to 2015-02, which actually doesn't provide the evidence-based information here, is nothing more than an appeal to tradition and is basing this on a logical fallacy. That's not evidence-based. Secondly, much of the defense of the rule relies on a false choice that without the 25-year freeze, rural Monroe County will be immediately overrun by dense development. That is a charge that's been made. This is a straw person argument. It's another logical fallacy in the decision. The code already contains multiple safeguards, minimum acreage, infrastructure requirements, discretionary review. We discussed all that at our administrative meeting. But reducing the timeline does not eliminate protection, it restores it proportionally. And when we review past minutes, we find the same debate has been repeated for decades with no new evidence added. Third, the practice does not preserve farms. It does, I think, mythologize our farm community in some ways, but what it does do is incentivize a lot of state development, which is the least affordable and the least environmentally friendly housing form we have in the county, while looking out for workers in a county that needs 2,000 housing units a year added to house our community, 67% of which rent in the city of Bloomington, just to stabilize costs. What this produces is not rural preservation, but rural feudalism. It's our largest housing form out there. We're not preserving farms with this. Finally, the argument that the moratorium is needed for infrastructure planning is just unconvincing. We could instead work with partners in the community to identify development patterns and projects that protect our environment and our watershed and allow more people to share in this county's prosperity, not least of which from my seat in county council, to collect the income tax revenue we need from people that are commuting here every day and taking their Monroe County income wages home with them instead of providing that tax base back to the community and the roads that they use and to move forward. So look, I've heard in this body that this has been politicized. But the very act is political. The 25-year moratorium is a political statement, and that is the original argument. Everything about it and the community that is concerned about passing this can be painted as political, but the original sin is that it's political. For those reasons, I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Ms. Nestor-Challen, I did not see in the packet the results of our ORC discussion on this matter, especially the definition of the 25-year I did not see that in the packet. Could you direct me to where I might have missed it? Or could you give the colleagues on our Plan Commission review of what had been decided and recommended by the ORC.
Sure. Let me pull up those notes. So I had some high-level information from the Ordinance Review Committee where this was forwarded or continued to on December 8th, 2025. As a result of this discussion, there were no changes directed to be made to staff to bring back to the Plan Commission for tonight's hearing. But there was a breakdown of the different discussion topics based on the motion that was originally sent to the Ordinance Review Committee. So there was a discussion based on the capabilities-based discussion regarding whether we could move from a timeline discussion to more of a capabilities-based discussion. And the discussion that was more of a military term, and it was not really suitable for this type of discussion. It was not provided with enough information or evidence for them to really break down that discussion further. And then there was a request to define or redefine generational. There was a discussion on this, and Ms. Clements provided just a quick definition via, what we could find online quickly. And it says, in population biology and demography, generation time is the average time between two consecutive generations and lineages of population being linked to biological life cycles. In human populations, generation time typically has ranged from 20 to 30 years with wide variation based on gender and society. So there was not a discussion from that to move to a different safeguard other than the 25 years. And then there was also a discussion about Mr. Schilling, the legal representative at the last meeting, about why we added in that second paragraph about legislatively fined, and that it's important to keep that in there for the reasons stated by Mr. Schilling, and that this has met the spirit and the intent of what was meant to occur with the 25-year sliding scale and the purpose of the sliding scale. So look back at the purpose statement of the sliding scale to determine as part of the commissioner's decision as to why that is legislatively found.
My recollection, we had a discussion of, a further discussion of the capabilities-based approach, and that the sliding scale subdivision actually preserves more capabilities and future harnessing of opportunities for larger tracts of land, because nothing prohibits a PUD from being developed or from another zoning request from being developed on the larger tract of land that is preserved by the sliding scale subdivision. And so that was an important feature of what we had discussed. With that being said, I'm going to return back, now that we're fully briefed on the ORC committee's deliberations. Mr. Enright Randolph and then I think Mr. Ferris.
Okay, thank you. We got some clarity, still don't know as far as continuing, forwarding, but a lot of the discussion that took place where we couldn't actually get a majority outside of moving it back to the ORC was to allow folks time to reconsider and think through this. And then we're here today to potentially with the first motion to approve it without the ability to discuss it or make any recommendations or motions. So I'm just a little baffled and a little heartache, but I'm sure we all can see it in different ways, and I see it in a different way too. I think a lot of these ordinances, when you say preserve, I also do think Mr. Henry brought up a good point where it does incentivize people to do larger developments too, so they don't get stuck in a 25 moratorium as much as it does provide opportunity for them to carve off those 2.5 acres. So it's really what the landowner wants to do and what they want to develop it. I'm going to go to my prepared statement now. I have discussed this topic extensively. We need to ensure that we are making sound decisions for the entire county. Several factors have bottlenecked our ordinance. For example, obtaining city sewer service for the county is critical since everything in our ordinance relies on either septic systems or sewer connections. If sewer is unavailable, a minimum of 10 acres is required for all types of subdivisions. However, the sliding scale subdivisions allows, now I'm going to refer to table 4-831, that's part of the packet. I'm also going to refer to the vacation table too, just if you want to kind of key that up. But if you would move to that table, that would be great.
I think, do you mean table 1-831?
No, 4-831, the original parent parcel scale. So on here, you know, there's this perception that you're going to get the multiple 2.5. You actually need, if you don't have 10 acres, you can't add an additional lot. That's very important. From 10 to 19.99 acres, you can only add one additional 2.5 lot. From 20 to 30 or 29.99 acres, you can add 2 additional lots. You have to have a minimum of 30 acres or greater to even add those 3 additional lots we
Point
keep
of order.
talking about.
Yes, Colonel Ferris?
And if you say this is repetitive, I want to make sure that we all know that the admin meetings is not the official record. This is our time to make an official statement. So I think that is a discussion and this is that. So please.
There's a point of order, and I think that Mr. Colonel Ferris has a question to ask.
That was my question. Again, we have talked about this.
I have not
Let me finish.
referred to this.
Sir?
You're insinuating something that's incorrect.
Sir, I haven't even finished my sentence yet. I'm not insinuating anything. All I'm saying is we've talked about this on 12 separate occasions, ad nauseum. And all I'm asking you here, are you presenting new information at this point that we have
Yes,
not?
there was new information presented about my mistake that was corrected at the admin meeting. This is all contingent off of my realization of some of what I was going to get to, which I would be finished now, but please.
One last thing. If you made a mistake, tell us your mistake and tell us what your
I will
corrected
get
comments
to it.
are.
After, this is not the first time I've been stifled to make comment.
I take exception to that effect.
So-
This is a valid point of order because in the
Okay,
past.
for one, I've never showed this and talked directly about this table. That's all new.
Then please proceed, but
Thank
do
you.
not repeat yourself, please.
So then you look at the design standards for the parent parcel. You need at least 55% of that parcel to even go through these sliding scale options. That's point A. Point B brings the reservation also that was referred to a moratorium for 25 years. After the 25 years, the possibilities of the development after going through the sliding scales and waiting the 25 years is very limited. This is where I got some clarity at our last discussion. I thought there was more options to vacate where you could have done a minor. Your only option, and if you could go to table 1-830, please. These are the vacations. So after you go through the sliding scale, the only thing you can do is a major. It says administrative, but administrative subdivision does not create new lots. It's basically for lot line adjustments. So if you choose the major and you go through it, the only option you have is a major. If you have 50 acres that you put in your parent parcel to achieve those three 2.5 lot acres, you can't do anything but a major. And again, based off of the ability to get sewer or septic, if you can't get sewer, 10 lot minimum acres. That's an issue. I feel, in my opinion, that we are getting ahead of ourselves, putting the cart before the horse, but that is my perspective. 11 years ago, the Plan Commission couldn't support the proposed amendments to the county ordinance and this was one of the major topics. Also, the 10-acre minimum was introduced at that December 16th, 2014 meeting, which was passed by a vote 5-3. Near the end of the meeting, around the 3-hour, 14-minute mark, a motion was made to rescind this provision by a member who initially supported it. However, that motion failed due to a split vote of 4-4. Yes, the Plan Commission has 9 members, but sadly, in 2014, there was only 8, and no 9th member was appointed until 2015. Kevin Enright, former Plan Commission member, raised this issue of the missing member at least 4 times in public meetings and even walking out of an organizational meeting. I'll refer to the HT article dated February 18, 2015, if you'd like to know. Then the Plan Commission forwarded the amendments to those ordinances with no recommendation. No recommendation. That's the only way they could get 5 votes, because they couldn't agree, and it moved forward with no recommendation. March 13th, 2015, the Board of Commissioners adopted it at a 2-1 vote. 2-1 out of a board of 3. As the elected county surveyor, I believe it is critical for the public to understand my position, even if some people think it's repetitive talk. This is the opportunity to address any concerns, and I believe those concerns should be resolved before we move it forward to the Board of Commissioners. I don't know the next time we'll be able to talk about this. I know we want to discuss some of the things that Director Nestor Jelen had referred to, but that doesn't mean we're going to, or that's not a guarantee. And what I see is this is the opportunity to discuss what is concerning in this particular sliding scale subdivision option now, before we move it forward for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Enright Randolph. Is there anyone else? Yes, Mr. Van Deventer.
I know that you folks have discussed this way more than I have, but I still feel like 25 years is an overreach and cumbersome for landowners. We have an aging rural community. Our school enrollments are dropping, and I just don't think this would help that at all. I just wanted to be on the record saying.
Thank you, Mr. Van Deventer. Is there anyone else who would like to comment? Yes, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments that I've heard tonight. And one of the common themes that I heard during our public hearings last year was commentary about the 25-year rule. And so at that point, I felt like this warranted further conversation, because at that point I felt too that 25 years was too long. And so that's why I was in favor of continuing this conversation into 2025 so we could discuss it further. However, in that time that we've been discussing it, I have since learned that the sliding scale subdivision with the 25-year rule is only one option that people would have if they want to subdivide their property. So my understanding from staff, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that when somebody comes to the planning staff to discuss this, they're presented with what all of their options are. So they are aware of the rules around each of their options. So this 25-year rule is a condition of one of the options. So they have other options. In the meantime, over the past year, I have also heard from people, a couple people that live in very rural areas that are very much in favor of the 25-year rule, and that led them to purchasing the property that they did because they knew that a large tract of land near them could not be subdivided. So that extra knowledge that I have gained over the past year has led me to be in favor of the language tonight. So I wanted to provide a little bit of context about why I was supporting it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Are there any other comments? I can't see if Julie Thomas has her hand raised. Yes, Commissioner Thomas?
Yes, I'm waiting for my, there we go. Thank you. I just have a couple of quick comments, and I won't belabor the point. To be clear, what Mr. Morris said is accurate. There are other options, and those are available to residents if they choose. And the 25-year moratorium on additional subdivision was misunderstood, maybe purposefully so, and it became part of the talking points that were not accurate. It's only one option. If you don't want that, then choose a different one. The only thing we're really changing on this piece of legislation is an explanation that says you have the option: minor, major, sliding scale. That's really what this is. So let's be clear that that's all that we're voting on, is what is the amendment, the amended language that's here. Councilor Henry claimed there isn't data, but I'm also going to challenge something that was thrown into the mix, which is this random number of 2,000 homes needed per year. There is no evidence of this. We don't have a housing inventory. This is something we ask staff to work on, but while we're belaboring the same points over and over again, they can't do this other work that we really need. We need to understand what the current housing inventory is and what is needed. And that's the question we should all be focused on. And I think it sounds like it's something we're all interested in learning. So I look forward to having that discussion in the future. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Are there other comments or a motion?
Is there not a motion on the table? Don't we have a motion on the table?
I don't think there's a motion. Is it? No, there's no motion. Yes, Colonel Ferris.
I move that we forward a favorable consideration to the county commissioners for the amendment, specifically the sliding scale, that is identified as item 1 on the CDO prioritization list. And we, like I said, we move it for favorable consideration of the county commissioners.
I second that.
Does that motion include a waiver of final hearing?
And of course, it includes a waiver of final hearing.
Yes, and
Yes.
I concur with the friendly amendment.
So there's a motion and a second to send a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners for ZOA-25-3, which is changes to the subdivision section of the CDO, namely the sliding scale section. And it also includes a waiver of final hearing. A vote yes is to send a favorable recommendation and to approve the waiver. David Henry?
No.
Jeff Morris?
Yes.
Julie Thomas?
Yes.
Joe Van Deventer?
No.
David Bush?
Yes.
Margaret Clements?
Yes.
Tron Enright Randolph?
No.
Scott Ferris?
Yes.
Rudy Fields?
No.
Okay, the motion is approved by a vote of 5-4.
Well, I just want to thank all of my colleagues on the Plan Commission. This is difficult. It's clear that there are differences of opinion, but I really respect the way people shared their opinions, their background, and their input on this difficult decision. So we have forwarded, as a result of this this vote to the commissioners, another opportunity for them to consider it, and their decision will be final. So thanks for all of your good thoughts and work on this on this particular item. So we move now to item number 2 on the agenda, which is SIA-22-9 and SIA-22-22, Holland Fields Major Subdivision 1, a Phase 1 subdivision improvement agreement. Let the record reflect that Mr. Henry has left the meeting, so let the record reflect that. And this is a request for performance period extension, a request for inflation-adjusted performance guarantee amount, and a request for reduction of financial guarantee. And this is the final hearing considering a property at 700 plus East Holland Drive and 4200 plus or minus South Windmill Lane in Perry Township, Section 21. Ms. Behrman, would you kindly review this with us?
Sure. So we have kind of 3 things that we're covering. It's the performance period extension, the inflation adjusted performance guarantee amount, and then the reduction for the financial guarantee. And that the reduction is really part of the SIA-22-22, but we're going to cover these together. They're very intertwined. They do have, well, this is for Holland Fields Phase 1. These are the 19 lots that we're discussing here, and it does include that East Holland Drive all the way to South Walnut Street Pike and the sidewalks that are within this area. They have a letter of credit on file that expires May 14th, 2025 in the amount of $123,000 and some change. They have an estimate that they submitted, and the Highway Department actually agrees with this estimate for the remaining improvements, and that's for $106,845.96. So what that means is that there's actually a bit of a reduction that they can request, and they are. Should this be approved, they would be eligible to resubmit a letter of credit for a lesser amount, and that would then reduce what they currently have on file for $16,284.58. We are not including any inflation calculation into this estimate amount because the developer has assured us that they are going to have all the improvements completed by May 14th, 2026. I hope that when the asphalt plants, when everything's up ready for spring, that they hit the ground running to get this done, because they do need to get this accepted into the inventory. So this is the estimate that was agreed upon by both the developer and the Monroe County Highway Department and planning staff. And again, it does not include interest, and it also does not include a maintenance bond. We don't have a maintenance bond requirement in the CDO. That happens afterwards at this point. One of the things that needs to be completed is that these sidewalks along East Holland Drive need to be ADA compliant in order to be accepted into the inventory. Kind of in that upper left picture, you have a different subdivision, which is the Holland 3-lot minor. That had a preliminary plat amendment last month that you guys all approved, and an SIA that was approved last month. And a part of that approval was that the developer was going to correct the driveways. They were going to be responsible for the 3 driveways. They are not responsible for the sidewalk along this stretch. That is a part of this petition. The big issue, again, I covered this last month, but that, this Holland Drive was built incorrectly. The Highway Department requested that they remove the road and reconstruct it to the acceptable lower grade for safety reasons so that cars were not coming in at a steep angle into South Walnut Street Pike, especially with considerations with rain and ice. So the road was lowered, but the sidewalks never were because there was a Smithville fiber utility through there. And last month we went over Smithville's email. They did have somebody come out and look at it, but they really need to get just digging in there to see if they're going to have enough slack in the line. So this is something that we hope can be worked out by May 14th. We do have the revised plans that are in the packet. And again, this is the portion that's lot 1, 2, and 3 of the Holland 3-lot minor subdivision. They are responsible to correct their driveways by May 1st. So that is before this one is required to have their improvements completed, which is May 14th. And these are some of the other sidewalks that were impacted and some of the other ADA ramps along the sidewalks that need to be corrected. And we have identified maybe a couple of street trees in here that also need to be replaced. And then we have corrected this pond here within the as-built. We realized that they only provided about half the amount of storage that they needed. So they have redesigned the bioretention and planning determined that they do not need to have extra landscaping installed. I am including the driveway report from the Highway Department for Phase 1, just as a reminder that in order to be accepted into the county inventory, the driveways do need to be compliant. So it's important to know that that Holland 3-lot minor, they need to have those 3 driveways corrected. And then also any other driveways which are on this list need to have an inspection and make sure that they're compliant. So we have a staff recommendation finally. And this is in regards to both SIA-22-9, which is the performance period and the new estimate and inflation, and then SIA-22-22, which is the reduction request. So the performance period extension date of May 14th, 2026, the inflation adjusted performance guarantee amount of $106,845.96, and the request for reduction of the financial guarantee in the amount of $16,284.58, which leaves approximately $106,845.96, with the following required conditions subject to the highway engineer reports and the stormwater program manager reports. Condition 1, a performance bond document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. Number 2, a subdivision improvement agreement document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. Number 3, a new financial guarantee may be submitted in the form of either a letter of credit or a cashier's check for the total amount of $106,845.96 if the new posted amount is desired prior to the completion of the required public improvements. And number 4, that the petitioner apply for right-of-way acceptance on or before May 14th, 2026. Does anyone have any questions on this?
No? Maybe we'll go first to the petitioner, if that's okay with everyone, and hear the petitioner's testimony. I assume that's you, Mr. Allen. If you would come to the podium, you'll have 15 minutes.
Good evening, Larry Allen, representing the petitioner, Hybrid Investments. I just want to, I'm going to keep this incredibly brief, and I'm going to open it up if I can answer any questions for you all. I think you've heard a lot about this petition over the past few months. Just extend some appreciation to staff working with us. This has not been an easy project, and we're trying to get a lot of these wrapped up. And so we are appreciative of the ability to work with them and the fact that they took time out to actually visit the site and to remeasure some of the sidewalks and to go over some of those details, which is exactly what brought us to this reduction tonight. So just want to extend our gratitude for that. And we have extended the requirements that are here to the contractor, who is the developer of the 3-lot minor. They are well aware of all the things that need to get done and when they need to get done. So thank you.
Thank you. Do members of the Plan Commission have any questions for Mr. Allen or for staff at this time? Okay, thank you. Are there members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand and you'll have 3 minutes to talk. Are there members of the public who are in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the podium and or raise your virtual hand online. If we come now to the members of the Plan Commission for further discussion and or a motion.
I can make a motion, but I don't want to cut anybody off if there's comments.
I did have a comment.
Yes, Mr. Enright Randolph?
Just, I'm really, I guess, looking for the Plan Commission to bring us any concerns as far as deadlines, timelines, really weighing a lot of the responsibility of making sure we get these improvements in on the Plan Commission, and I'm here to support what's needed. There's a lot of moving parts here, and I just also want to extend appreciation of kind of figuring out a way to move this project forward because it was very complex in nature.
Thank you, Mr. Enright Randolph. Mr. Morris, if you'd like to continue with your motion.
For cases SIA-22-9 and SIA-22-22, I move approval of the performance period extension date of May 14th, 2026, and the inflation-adjusted performance guarantee amount of $106,845.96, and the request for the reduction of the financial guarantee in the amount of $16,284.58, leaving $106,845.96, with the following required conditions subject to the highway engineer reports and the stormwater program manager reports. 1, a performance bond document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. 2, a subdivision improvement agreement document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. 3, a new financial guarantee may be submitted in the form of either a letter of credit or a cashier's check for the total amount of $106,845.96 if the new posted amount is desired prior to the completion of the required public improvements. And 4, the petitioner apply for right-of-way acceptance on or before May 14th, 2026.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Enright Randolph.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve SIA-22-9 and SIA-22-22 as stated by Plan Commission member Jeff Morris. A vote yes is a vote to approve and with all the conditions and notes stated by Mr. Morris. Julie Thomas,
Yes.
Joe Van Deventer,
Yes.
David Bush,
Yes.
Margaret Clements,
Yes.
Tron Enright Randolph,
Yes.
Scott Ferris,
Yes.
Rudy Fields,
Yes.
Jeff Morris.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 8-0.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 items under new business. We'll start with the first 2. Under item number 1, SIA-22-7 and SIA-24-6. And this is the Holland Fields Major Subdivision Phase 2 Final Plat, request for performance period extension and request for reduction of financial guarantee. And this is the final hearing. Ms. Berriman, if you would kindly review this property at 4400 South Windmill Lane and 700 plus or minus West Crestline Road in Perry Township, Section 21.
Sure. So again, this one is much the same as the previous one. It does have a letter of credit on file for $112,082.85. This letter of credit expires a little bit earlier, which is April 18th, 2025. So we're hoping that this project can be kept on that timeline since the developer is not requesting to go, they don't want to pay any interest on the letter of credit. So they're going to have to hustle to get this one done in the spring. They do have a SIA on file, but it lapsed back in 2022. So their proposed extension date is April 18th, 2026. This is phase 2. I think they have maybe 2 lots that still have not developed yet out here. And again, we just went over their letter of credit. They have submitted an estimate that the highway department they inspected the site. They found some things where there was some wiggle room, and they generally agree with the estimate. They think they could have actually requested more for a reduction, but we just never got another iteration of plans or estimate from the engineer to review. But I think them, getting a reduction amount of $62,105.89 is is acceptable to them. And again, we're not going to be calculating inflation on this one because they have expressed the intent to complete all of these improvements by April 18th, 2026. So this is the revised estimate for the reduction dated September 24th, 2025. Something to note is that we are going with the subtotal amount on this estimate. They had originally included 10% bonding. We don't require bonding in the financial guarantee anymore. That is something that is paid after the project has been accepted into the inventory. So we don't want to include that in the amount that they need to have on file with the planning department. I do include in the packet some of the as-builts here for the site. And I think I remember one time I was out there, they were pouring some sidewalks. So they are trying to get these improvements completed. I think a lot 31, this was one where there's a ramp on a driveway and they could they need to redo this one. That was just one of the things I remember from the highway department commenting on. So with this one, staff recommends for SIA-22-7 and SIA-24-6, which is the reduction portion, we recommend that you make a motion to approve the request for the performance period of April 18th, 2026, the request for a new performance guarantee amount based on the current engineer's estimate, and with an approved reduction in the amount of $49,976.96, with the following required 4 conditions, which are subject to the highway engineer reports and stormwater program manager reports. 1, a performance bond document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. Number 2, a subdivision improvement agreement document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. And number 3, a new financial guarantee may be submitted in the form of a letter of credit or cashier's check for the total amount of $49,976.96. And if that new posted amount is desired prior to the completion of the required public improvements. And then finally, number 4, that the petitioner apply for right-of-way acceptance on or before April 18th, 2026.
Okay. With that being said, Mr. Allen, are you also the representative? So if you would kindly come to the podium, you have 15 minutes to review with us this request.
I'm going to raise no further comments. I think that was a very thorough report. This one is a little bit more straightforward. Happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Do members of the Plan Commission have questions for Mr. Allen? No?
One.
Oh, yes, Mr. Fields.
I may have misunderstood something that was said in the last. These sidewalk improvements, are those on the owners of the properties?
No, not all of them. There's going to be a question that we need to sort out a little bit, just to be frank with you, about where the driveways have maybe interfered with the sidewalk. And to the extent that someone else put in those driveways, they may end up being responsible because they had to pull an independent permit. As noted, they are listed as the petitioner. But the sidewalks generally that are through are part of the public improvements that were on the plat itself. And so to the extent that we're pouring the new ones in around the undeveloped lots, we understand that that's part of the plat.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Allen? Okay, I'll hear from the public now. Are there members of the public who would like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand in order to be recognized online. No one? Okay, I return now to members of the Plan Commission for further discussion and/or a motion.
There's no discussion. I move that for cases SIA-22-7 and SIA-24-6, approval of the request for a performance period of April 18th, 2026, and a request for a new performance guarantee amount based on current engineer's estimate and with an approval reduction in the amount of $49,976.96, with the following required conditions subject to the highway engineer reports and stormwater program manager reports. 1, a performance bond document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. 2, a subdivision improvement agreement document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. 3, a new financial guarantee may be submitted in the form of either a letter of credit or cashier's check for the total amount of $49,976.96 if the new posted amount is desired prior to the completion of the required public improvements. And 4, petitioner apply for a right-of-way acceptance on or before April 18th, 2026.
For a second.
I'll second.
Okay, great.
It's been moved and seconded to approve SIA-22-7 and SIA-24-6, which is stated by Plan Commission member Jeff Morris perfectly, so I will not repeat. A vote yes is a vote to approve as mentioned by Commission member Jeff Morris. Joe Van Deventer,
Yes.
David Bush,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Trona Enright Randolph,
Yes.
Scott Ferris,
Yes.
Rudy Fields,
Yes.
Jeff Morris,
Yes.
Julie Thomas.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved, 8-0.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is SIA-21-7. This also is Holland Fields Major Subdivision Phase 3 Final Plat, and this is a request for performance period extension and a request for inflation-adjusted performance guarantee amount. This is the preliminary hearing, and they're requesting that the final hearing be waived. And this concerns a property at 4400 South Windmill Lane and 700 plus or minus West Crestline Road in Perry Township, Section 21. Ms. Behrman?
Okay, so this one, just slightly different. There is not a request for a reduction on this one. I think we simply just don't have the information we need to make a determination on that. So these are the lots. There are about 14 lots in Phase 3. 10 of them, I believe, are built out at this point, even though this is an older aerial. I think these are going up quickly. So there was a letter of credit, and I will say that the staff packet, there were some updates that didn't make it into the staff packet, so I'll be updating you on a couple of things here. One of them is that their letter of credit for $102,000, $102,942.28. It has been recently renewed on December 12th, 2026. They did have a performance period that lapsed back December 15th, 2023. There's not a reduction requested because we need as-builts. They did submit some earlier in the year, but they did not contain all the information that we need, so we're kind of waiting on those. And then there have been so many improvements made out there as far as sidewalks go and bioretention that the letter of credit that we have on file now, we think is going to exceed what is required if we were to apply the inflation-based calculations and get a new estimate. The Highway Department had inspected this area back on October 16th, 2025, and they do agree with the estimate. Okay, and then this is the original estimate in here, which we think exceeds. It does include this 10% bonding, but we're just going to leave it as is at this point until we do get an accurate estimate on file or they complete all the requirements and get it accepted into the inventory at this point. So staff's going to make a recommendation for SIA-21-7. Staff recommends approval of the one extension of the performance period until December 15th, 2026, and to renew the inflation-adjusted amount of $102,942.28 with the following required conditions subject to the highway engineer reports and the stormwater program reports. One is that the performance bond document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. 2, that a subdivision improvement agreement document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. Number 3 is moot at this point. This has been completed. And number 4, that the petitioner apply for a right-of-way acceptance on or before December 15th, 2026. They have a little bit of time to get this one completed.
Okay, Mr. Allen, I think this is you again. It's the same address.
correct. So Larry Allen representing Hybrid Investments, very similar. This is just the extension for the year. This is the final one. Again, this is a little bit more straightforward, but happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Do members of the Plan Commission have questions for Mr. Allen? No? Okay. That'll be it. Are there members of the public who would like to speak in favor or in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the podium in the Nat Hill room or raise your virtual hand online. If there's none, we come back to the members of the Plan Commission for further discussion and/or a motion.
For case SIA-21-7, I move approval of one extension of the performance period until December 15th, 2026, and to renew the inflation-adjusted amount of $102,942.28 with the following required conditions, subject to the highway engineer reports and stormwater program manager reports. 1, a performance bond document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. 2, a subdivision improvement agreement document shall be signed and recorded by January 15th, 2026. 3, a renewal of the current letter of credit or cashier's check for the total amount of $102,942.28.
Completed.
That's completed.
Oh, sorry, strike that last one. And then the new third one would be the petitioner apply for right-of-way acceptance on or before December 15th, 2026.
And waive final hearing.
And waive the final hearing.
I'll second.
Is there a second?
There was a
Okay,
second.
great.
Yes. So there was a motion and a second to approve SA-21-7, which is the Holland Fields Major Subdivision Phase 3. This is a request for performance period extension, inflation adjustment, and it included a waiver of final hearing. Commission member Morris stated it as well perfectly, so I will not repeat. A vote yes is a vote to approve as stated. Margaret Clements,
Yes.
Tron Enright Randolph,
Yes.
Scott Ferris,
Yes.
Rudy Fields,
Yes.
Jeff Morris,
Yes.
Julie Thomas,
Yes.
Joe Van Deventer,
Yes.
David Bush.
Yes.
Motion is approved 8-0.
Okay, great. We're down to the last item under new business, and that's item number 3, a rezone request number 25-8, the Reese rezone from light business to agricultural. And this is the preliminary hearing, and a waiver of final hearing has been requested regarding 1 6± acre parcel in Van Buren Township, Section 22 at 7353 West Eller Road. And Mr. Myers, if you would please review this with us.
Thank you. So the petitioner of this petition requests to rezone 6 acres located in Van Buren Township, Section 22. It is limited business right now, and they're seeking to rezone to agricultural residential 2.5, or AGR for short. The goal of the rezone is to establish zoning compatibility with the adjacent parcel to the west, which is also owned by the petitioner. Deed records indicate that the 2 parcels are likely one lot of record totaling 20 acres. Both parcels appear separate due to a township section line bisecting the 2. The western parcel contains 14 acres in Van Buren Township Section 21, while the eastern parcel, the subject parcel of this rezone, contains 6 acres, like I said, in Section 22. Moving from the LB zone to the AGR zone will allow the commercial structures to be converted to agricultural use that are existing on the property. And the petitioner stated a potential interest in establishing a new dwelling on the 6-acre parcel, which will be required to meet the CDO for a detached accessory dwelling unit unless a subdivision is pursued. On the screen, I have the definitions for limited business and agricultural residential. We can come back to these if we'd like. Here we have the location map, Van Buren Township along West Eller Road. Here's the current zoning map. The light pink is the limited business and the green is the agricultural residential. The gold or brown that you see is residential 1. Now on the screen is the site conditions map showing the slopes of the property as well as the existing structures in the northeast corner of the property along West Eller Road. And then now some site photographs of those structures and the existing driveways off of West Eller. This picture on the left side of the screen shows the existing residence at 7353 West Eller Road on the 14-acre parcel. And just more photographs here of the site. I've also included some snippets from the Monroe County Comprehensive Plan, designating this area as rural transition. So all of this is included in the packet, but I wanted to bring it into the presentation in case we had any questions or discussion on these items. There's 2 slides here for that. And then now on the screen is the letter from the petitioner stating their request on the left. And then on the right, the letter from the State of Indiana Office of the Secretary of State certifying that the previous commercial business that was operating on the property is now ceased activity, and is also one of the reasons why they are seeking to rezone away from limited business to agricultural, because the business is no longer active on this site. And now on the screen, I have a side-by-side comparison of Chapter 807 for the limited business zone and Chapter 804 for the for the agricultural residential zone. These pages from the ordinance indicate the uses that are available in each of the zoning districts. So I kept that here in case there was any discussion between the two with respect to what uses are permitted, what uses are not, what uses are conditional, etc. All right, that brings me to staff's recommendation. Staff recommends forwarding a positive recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for the rezone request, citing its compatibility with the Monroe County Comprehensive Plan and subject to the Highway and Stormwater Program reports. I'll now take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. I think we'll go directly to the petitioner. If the petitioner would like to come to the podium and say anything to the Plan Commission, please just sign in. Mrs. Reese. I just want to personally thank you for all of your years serving the Postal Service and to the community with mail delivery. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, 68 years of hauling U.S. postal mail out of Bloomington, Indiana to everywhere. My husband and I decided, we inherited the property from his parents, and his mother died in 2000. That's when we inherited the property and the house. And we're done. We're 75 years old. The post office, I'm not going to say too much about, but things are changing. And people are changing, and we're done. We don't want it. We use the barns. The one barn is, we store stuff in it. The other barn, it has some trailers in it, you know, car trailers, lawnmower trailers, stuff like that. Tractors. We still have to bush hog the fields, you know, and keep the creek good, and fix the barn from the trucks that come up the road and hit the barn. Not our trucks. You can talk to Walmart about that. So basically, no. And the property will then be inherited by our son, who's going to live there. And we just not business anymore at all. I mean, the phone number's been deleted. The only thing I still have the email, because it's stuff I have to answer. But other than that, we're done, you know.
Well, thank you for that. And we're going to open up to public comment.
Okay.
And if anybody speaks in opposition to your request, you'll have a chance to return to the podium and explain your point of view.
Okay, thank you.
Are there members of the public who would like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the podium in the Nat Hill room or raise your virtual hand. No one. I return now to members of the Plan Commission for further discussion and or a motion. Yes.
Before we make a motion, I just want to make a comment. I really appreciate your reverting it back to ag. I think that's a noble thing to do, and I was most impressed by the tidiness of the property. I wish my farm looked that nice. I don't know how you do it, but keep up the good work. Thank you.
Yes, that's nice. That's nice. So would you like to make a motion then, Mr. Bush?
I could, sure.
Yeah.
In case number REZ 25-8, the address 7353 West Eller Road. Requesting a rezone to change LB to AGR, waiver of final hearing. I'd like to recommend that we approve for the rezone request, citing its compatibility with the Monroe County Comprehensive Plan and subject to highway and stormwater program reports, and also a waiver of the final hearing.
I'll second that, but I guess just for clarity, you want to make that motion not to approve, but move forward a favorable recommendation?
That is correct. Yes,
Okay,
thank
and
you for
my
that.
second stands.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to send a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners for REZ-25-8, which is the rezone from limited business to agricultural residential 2.5. This also includes a waiver of final hearing. A vote yes is a vote to send a favorable recommendation and to waive the final hearing. Margaret Clements?
Yes.
Tron Enright Randolph?
Yes.
Scott Ferris?
Yes.
Rudy Fields?
Yes.
Jeff Morris?
Yes.
Julie Thomas?
Yes.
Joe Van Deventer?
Yes.
David Bush?
Yes.
Motion is carried 8-0.
Well, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Reese. Thank you so much. Yes, enjoy the rest of your retirement and happy holidays. Yeah, we will get some warm weather, yes. So I'm going to turn now to public comment. We have the last item on the agenda, an opening up of the floor to public comment to items that are not on the agenda. If anyone would like to make a public comment for an item that is not on the agenda, you'll have 3 minutes to speak, but please come to the podium in the Nat Hill room or raise your virtual hand so that you can be recognized and heard. Do you see anyone? Okay. Are there any reports from planning or from the county attorney?
Well, from planning, I would just want to thank you all for your attention and time this year. I know a lot of you put in a lot of meeting hours and are part of a lot of the subcommittees, so I appreciate all of your time and attention. As part of that, also, I was going to put on the agenda for the administrative meeting in January, elections for Plan Commission members for the seats for chair, vice chair, subcommittees. So please start thinking about which committees you would like to serve on, and we will see you in January.
Thank you so much, and thanks to staff for all you do, and to my colleagues here on the Plan Commission. You know, I really appreciate your patience, your forbearance, and your participation, because that's how we could become a better community. So thank you. Okay. Well, is there a motion to adjourn? Oh,
Motion to adjourn?
okay. I think that's a motion and a second, all in one.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays. Thanks for your service.
Thank you. Bye-bye.